Hi friends, good evening. Today we're going to have live and I'm going to be summarizing immigration changes to date, what we are having, what we're seeing in terms of immigration, what changed since Monday, which is a lot, I have to tell you. I'm going to be sharing with you the most important updates. Where do we stand in terms of immigration courts? What happened with enforcement? Positive changes, negative changes. We're going to be discussing all that's happening in the immigration field. And of course, I'll be answering your guys' questions if you will have any. So welcome. My name is Alena Shautsova. I'm an immigration attorney from New York. I've been practicing immigration law for 16 years. And here I'm sharing my recap of the recent immigration changes according to new president that we have and what happened with regard to all those executive orders that were signed on Monday and different developments that still unfolding as we speak. So please join me, like, share this stream, and let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what topics you would like to discuss so that our stream is going to be more interesting and hopefully very productive. All right. So yes, I will be covering the topic of what's going to happen with pending cases, guys. And of course, I see that some of you already have this, questions about the TPS and so on. So let's start. Why don't we? Because we do have a lot to cover. The first thing that I wanted to speak about is the drastic changes that are happening in our immigration courts. Today I had 2 court hearings, and I'm going to tell you that I can tell you that big changes are coming to immigration courts. You may be aware that I believe Monday or Tuesday, Trump fired the entire leadership of Executive Office of Immigration Review, people who set the tone of how immigration courts are working. To add to that, Immigration Court Practice Manual disappeared from the website. It means that it will be redone. Immigration Court Practice Manual is a document that we use to work with the courts. That's how we know how the courts are operating, what deadlines are out there, how to submit documents to court, motions, what is available, what's not, how the courts are operating. So that very important document has been taken off the website. It means that there will be changes to it. And I believe the changes will aim to streamline the immigration court process, potentially affecting due process rights of people who are in immigration courts. To add to that, let me find the correct slide here. There are some drastic changes with connection to immigration legal aid. Let me see if I find the slide. What happened is that Department of Justice issued, here we go, Department of Justice orders federally funded legal service providers to stop providing support in immigration courts. No more free lawyers, no more free help, no more self-help desks in immigration courts to assist those people who do not have private attorneys. In immigration court, you may be represented by an attorney, but at no expense to the government. In other words, you have to hire a private attorney and you have to bring the private attorney. And sometimes you had access to free lawyers or free help that was funded by legal aid societies in certain locations. And if that legal aid society would get funds from federal government as of, yesterday, they can no longer provide immigrants assistance in immigration courts. It means that you either going to have and non-for-profit that agreed to represent you, which they are absolutely overwhelmed with cases, and the wait time to get their help is very long, or you will have to find money for a private attorney. By yourself, without the help of even such help desks, it's almost impossible to figure out how to provide documents to immigration courts, what the deadlines are, coupled with the fact that the immigration court practice manual was taken off the website. It's plainly impossible. Just today, I saw a case being adjourned because the person incorrectly, who doesn't have an attorney, incorrectly provided change of address form to the court. The gentleman couldn't figure out how to do it. He didn't provide a copy of the change of address form to the prosecutor. It is required by law. And the judge said, listen, I see that you've done it incorrectly. It means that I still, under the law, can use your old address to send documents to you. And if you don't show up for the next hearing because you didn't receive the documents, I will simply order you deported in by default, because you didn't come in for the hearing. So the judge was trying to do her best to explain the importance of compliance with the law, but the person without the help of this help desk will never be able to figure out what to do unless they're very sophisticated. So this is a huge step back for our immigration community, for due process rights, the fact that legal aid is prohibited now from helping immigrants in immigration courts. Unaccompanied minors, people who potentially have been abused and don't have funds for representation will, of course, be affected the most by this recent change. Okay, so this is very important. Another very important thing that is happening in immigration courts is that there is no PD anymore. The prosecutors are not agreeing to anything, not even to terminate the case when the person is clearly adjustable before USCIS. And of course, it affects everyone. Why? Because, for example, today the judge says, I don't understand why you wouldn't agree to terminate the case. They asked the prosecutor, because on my calendar, I'll be able to hear this case only in 2028. While if the person goes before USCIS, they may receive the resolution and the green card within the next 8 to 9 months, right? So huge difference for people in court, but the prosecutor says no. And then it's up to the judge, whether the judge would like, at the risk of being appealed, grant dismissal in court or not. This particular judge did grant the dismissal, and the prosecutor reserved the appeal for something very simple issue, person's right to adjust status rather than being held hostage in a very huge court backlog. They would adjust status before USCIS. The prosecutor would not agree to that. Imagine what's going to happen with more complex issues and cases, right? So this is where we stand. We already see huge change. Of course, there are other big changes like closed border and something else very important we're going to speak about. Specifically, the fact that DHS authorizes federal law enforcement to implement Trump's immigration policies. So for the past couple of days, I've been doing these lives explaining to you guys that the fact that you haven't seen large enforcement operations, it's not because they will not take place. It's because they require significant preparation. And as we speak, those lists are being made and confirmed by Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, that they're being made. List of people who they're going to be targeting for arrests and deportation. According to Homan, the arrests already started. They are arresting public safety threats, and they are. There have been about 500 to maximum 1,000 arrests performed of people with certain criminal convictions. Of course, for the country as huge as the United States, in a percentage wise comparison, it's not a huge number of people who are being arrested. But in the same article that I display on my YouTube and Facebook stream, he says that they are working on a list of people, as common sense would demand, right? To deport somebody, you need to know where they are, who they are. And if I was them, I'd be organizing those operations probably by zip codes, because it would be easier for me to do that. Now, I just shared with you another article that explained where the force is going to be coming from other federal agencies. So they will be using military at the border, other federal agencies, and ICE to start arresting people according to the list that they're preparing. So very important to understand that. You still may have some time to prepare for what to come, but not that much time anymore. I'm just explaining to you what's happening. They will be arresting a lot of people. They're just working on the lists according to them. In addition, and here is the confirmation for that, in addition, what they're also planning, and what's is obvious from Trump's executive orders, are potential travel bans. In one of the executive orders that Trump signed, he gives direction to executive branch to make lists of countries that do not provide sufficient information about their nationals, and countries with conflicting ideology that send people, nationals of those countries, possessing conflicting ideology, and for that reason shouldn't be allowed to enter the United States. We're talking about Muslim ban, guys. Certain non-for-profit organizations already established a hotline to address this issue. They are worried that such countries as Iran, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen will face new travel ban, and probably they will. So that's another thing that potentially may be coming very shortly that we may see. And obviously, if you're an international student from one of those countries, you have a valid visa, make sure you enter the United States before anything is going to become the reality. Just have a very healthy, very common sense attitude, right? Talking about common sense, you may be aware that sensitive locations, a term for the ICE to be not enforcing their arrests, is history. Now DHS ordered their officers to use common sense when they're trying to arrest somebody, detain somebody who they believe is in the United States in violation of the immigration laws. I know that there is a concern that ICE agents are going to come to schools, churches, and hospitals. Well, while they may come to those locations, you also have to understand that tons of those locations are private. It means that they're not entirely open to public. Let's say a hospital. There is a waiting room in a hospital, which is a public place, and ICE agents, just like everybody else, may enter it and may remain there and may wait for somebody in that public place. But they will not be able to enter hospital rooms, for example, because there people, generally speaking, enjoy a certain level of privacy without the person's consent and without the hospital's consent. Same applies to schools. If ICE agents would like to enter schools, they would like to have schools' consent. They need to have schools' consent or judicial warrant to do that. For that reason, I wouldn't really worry about mass-scale enforcement operations in schools, guys, or universities, or churches. Nearby, sure, but not inside. I also hope that ICE agents are going to have more common sense than arresting somebody in front of a group of children. I don't think anybody wants to see that, including probably their children as well. This is not what we should be exposing the children to. But this is what's happening with those sensitive locations, right? So it's not that they will be absolutely raiding schools. It's not the case. But if they have to enter the school, they will have to follow the rules, either receive school's consent or have a judicial warrant. Well, positive news. Let's talk about positive news now. COVID vaccine requirement for those who are filing for adjustment of status is history. So if you didn't want to have COVID vaccine and you were waiting to file for that green card because of the COVID vaccine requirement, now it's no longer an issue, okay? Another positive development today is that the federal district judge temporarily stopped executive order regarding birthright citizenship. Now, the pause is temporarily. It means that we do not know what's going to happen. I think I know what's going to happen. Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but the way it works and the way it worked in the past, what I think is going to happen with that very controversial order is that eventually it's going to be denied, but not until a certain federal judge makes the following finding. What's happening here is that the 14th Amendment of the Constitution says that people born in the United States, generally speaking, are citizens, unless executive branch finds that they don't have, United States don't have jurisdiction over certain people. That particular amendment, that particular reference is about diplomats, people who are in the United States upon invitation of the United States government, and they enjoy immunity. For example, if the diplomat commits a crime, local authority cannot do anything about that. All they can do basically is to write to the consulate of the country and say, we do not want this person here anymore, and the person has to depart. Later, they may deal with it through diplomatic channels, but usually diplomats are not subject to jurisdiction of the United States. Hence, children who are born because their parents were in diplomatic status, but they're born in the United States, are not citizens. Sometimes, by mistake, such children receive citizenship certificates, or they receive birth certificates and sometimes passports, but later the government catches up on that, and such a child has to file for a green card before they can file for naturalization. That's how it works. Now, the question in that birthright citizenship order will be whether or not the United States government has jurisdiction over undocumented immigrants. And I think there is only one answer to that. Yes, because the United States can file charges against such people. The United States can place them in removal proceedings. So it would just be very not common sense to hold otherwise. We're going to see what's going to happen, but I think that's what eventually is going to be ruled by the courts, but it's going to take some time. There is another problem with the lawsuits that were filed just now. The problem is that so far there are no children who actually suffered harm from this order. And I think sooner or later, Trump's new administration is going to bring that argument before the courts, saying there is nothing yet to sue about. There is no victim, right? That's an important argument. You also need to know, by the way, some of you were asking me about what's going to happen with the PIP appeal. Well, we know now that government lawyers are ordered not to participate in any litigation that's been involving Biden administration. So there is a hold on bringing lawsuits on behalf of the government to defending something that Trump's administration is not in favor of. All right, that's what's happening. So we're going to see where it all is going to take us. Literally every hour now, when you check the news, there is something new, some new information, new developments, and of course, very drastic developments in immigration courts, as I just covered, they will affect all those who are waiting for their immigration court hearings, guys. Very, very, very important, okay? Now I'll be answering some of you guys' questions. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for your questions. Hi, Andrea. Can Trump cancel the extension Biden gave for TPS for El Salvador? He can certainly try to cancel. I'm not sure when exactly he will try to do that, but if he can, he will certainly try to cancel it. One of his executive orders actually directly mentions TPS. It says that make sure that TPS is given only to the countries where conditions warrant TPS. So I'm sure that he will try to revise Biden's administration extension. I don't think he'll be successful, but what will and may succeed is lack of extension of TPS for other countries that will be up for renewal, okay? Because we have like about almost 20 countries that have TPS, and those countries that are not up for renewal were not up for renewal with Biden administration, who will be up for renewal with Trump administration. They may see, unfortunately, negative consequences of new administration's new policies. Hi, Amir, you're welcome. Hi, Vadim. Can I self-deport and come back when my kids turn 21? You may be able to. You know, if you accumulated unlawful presence time in the United States and you leave the United States, you depart on your own, you will be inadmissible in many situations for 10 years. In some situations, you won't be. For example, you overstayed something called duration of stay or duration of status visa, like F1, J1, M. In this situation, you were not accumulating unlawful presence time, and 10-year bar is not going to be applied to you. But for most people who either entered without inspection or overstayed the tourist visa, they will be accumulating this unlawful presence time that will present a problem for 10 years. But once the child turns 21 and can petition for you, then if law doesn't change, you will be eligible to get the visa, provided you won't have other grounds for inadmissibility, right? That's how it works. Hi, Mr. Patel. I applied for initial ID for pending asylum first week this month. How long will it take to receive work permit and first receipt of EAD by mail? You're probably going to receive it within 45 days if nothing changes. I'm not sure if it's going to change, but recently those approvals were very fast. I just received a very fast approval even for an extension of the work permit based on asylum pending. It literally came in within like 2 weeks, very, very fast. All right. Blanket amnesty. I don't think there will be any amnesty, to be honest. It's not happening right now. Hi, Becksort. How long does widow case I-360 take till green card? Surprisingly, a very long time. You may be looking at 3 years plus. I do not know why so long, but that's just what I've noticed. Hi, Muya. If one receives I-130 notice of next or international transfer, how long will it take for the petitioned relative get scheduled for the interview? I guess what you mean if that I-130 was approved and it was NVC issued invoices. Let me answer this way. Since the time the case is documentary qualified, usually it takes 90 to 180 days to receive that interview. Okay, that's what is happening. Now, guys, I'm going to answer some questions from TikTok. Thank you guys very much for your likes, your hearts, your gifts. Hi, Rasul from Iraq. Hi, the gym boy. Hi. Thank you, Rasul, very much. What about filing for your parents to become citizens? Well, so far, nothing negative happened. If you would like to file for your parents and you're a US citizen, go ahead and do so as soon as possible before something may happen, okay? So that's good news. Certain categories of cases are not affected. Marriage-based cases, You guys are good. Parents are good. U visa, T visa, VAWA, SIJS. You guys are all okay for now, okay? Hi, KK. I-130 approved. Spouse petition. One entrance if picked up by ICE. Can judge grant work permit? Judges do not grant work permits. Work permits are being granted by USCIS. But if the person has legal entry, parole, or visa entry, and I-130 is approved, provided they do not have other inadmissibility issues, if they are picked up by ICE, then judge is going to give them the green card, okay, not USCIS. But you still have to file for the work permit while you're waiting for the judge's decision with USCIS, right? Hi, young Zoe. I've been renewed my work permit in my TPS from last year in August. They only send me the extension. Okay, not sure what's going on there. Let me know what your question is. Hi, Psy, expect a visit from ICE soon. Some people do have to expect the visit from ICE. Absolutely. Not everybody, but some people do. People who have orders of removal, orders of supervision. You guys are easy targets. Why? Because the government already know about you. They know that you are removable. You're literally open to be grabbed and detained and sent back. All right. Some people ask me, what if after I'm detained and I do have an order of removal, I would like to self-deport myself? It doesn't work this way. Once they detain you because you are subject to removal after an order of deportation or removal or exclusion is final, they will not let you buy ticket by yourself and leave. All right. That's what's happening there. Ay, ay, ay. Thank you guys very much for your gifts and follows. Please like, share this stream so more people are going to be able to participate. All right. Is it possible get EB3 Schedule C without PERM for engineers? EB2 National Interest Waiver, maybe. Perhaps. It depends on what is it that you may offer, what experience you have, all right? Perhaps. Schedule A, but that's different, where you don't need PERM, all right? Schedule A is a researcher saying, yep. Health professionals, guys. I'm not sure if I have a blog. I was planning on writing one and posting it. And I think I do on my website that explains what Schedule A is and how you can get a green card with that PERM requirements in the United States. Hi, fan of Chima. How about applying for citizenship for my mom who lived here for 10 years? If your mom entered the United States with a visa or parole, she never departed, right? She doesn't have a problem of permanent bar. You are a US citizen. You may sponsor your parent regardless as to how much time they overstayed their visa for, right? Successful sponsor, so that they would receive a green card. How will raids and deportations affect DACA recipients? Well, while DACA is still in effect, you have deferred action and you're protected from deportation. That was the benefit of DACA. If the DACA is canceled or you lose your DACA status, now you are open for enforcement, okay? That's how. When will it happen? Will it happen? Not sure. We'll see what's going to happen. All right. But so far, DACA people are okay. We're going to see what's going to happen next. If I'm here illegally, can I stay? If you do not have immigration status in the United States, you need to understand that If you remain in the United States unlawfully, you are subject to enforcement. If ICE finds you, they will issue a notice to appear against you and place you in removal proceedings. If you enter the United States on a visa waiver, you will not see the judge. It will be a very different process for you, okay, that they're going to use to deport you. It's going to be very fast. So would you want to stay? As an immigration attorney, I cannot encourage anybody to violate immigration laws and say, oh yeah, just stay and hang out here. But you making decisions, knowing the information, whether you want to stay or you would like to leave on your own. Also, you may want to consult with an immigration attorney to see if you have any chances of legalizing in the United States. Some people who are here without status, they may have a chance of receiving status. U visa, T visa, marriage to a US citizen, for example. Some people may file for asylum if they qualify for it, right? So it depends on your situation. I have ICE check in Maryland. So what should I do? Should I go or not as defensive asylum seeker? I would suggest, first of all, no sane immigration lawyer is going to tell you online not to comply with the order of supervision that you have, right? You must comply with the order of supervision. Non-compliance with order of supervision, guys, is a crime, by the way. You can be criminally charged. Published this information. I published this information online, I think a week ago. It's very interesting that things that ordinarily were committed just a week ago and nobody really worried about them because nobody would prosecute you for them, all of a sudden are things of a huge concern because things like remaining in the United States after the final order of supervision actually is a crime. Non-compliance with the order of supervision actually is a crime. Failure to register actually is a crime. And according to Trump's executive orders, he basically stated zero tolerance, you must enforce the law. If it discovered that you committed these things, in addition to civil penalties, you may be also criminally prosecuted and put in the federal jail. Please take it into consideration. Right now, it's sort of a quiet time because, as I said, they're preparing. You have to understand that. You can't just, they said they're going to do something on day one, but without the lists, you can't do much on day one. You also have to have people who's going to do something on day one. They kind of started doing something and then they said that they canceled it, but I think they just were not prepared. But they will be prepared at some point. Absolutely. So far, Trump did what he promised, and I really do not see him turning around and saying, oh, forget it, I'm not going to do mass deportations. I just don't see that happening. Taking into consideration some unnecessary things that we see this week, such as firing of the entire leadership of the immigration courts, Department of Justice prohibiting legal aid to immigrants. I don't think they're going to change their position to become friendly towards immigrants. So just keep that in mind. If you do have an order of supervision and you have to comply with it, please bring a lawyer with you. Bring a lawyer who's going to consult you as to negative consequences, will prepare you what to do, and hopefully you mentioned that you have defensive asylum, so you probably do not have final order of removal. But if you do, prepare that stay of removal application that you can file with ICE, right? There is a thing you can file. All right, let me see if we have more questions. Is there any news about bona fide work permits? Yes, they're being issued depending on when you filed for your U visa. All right. Absolutely. Hi, Chuck. For cancellation of removal or I-601 waiver, would the U.S. spouse having been diagnosed with depression and anxiety be a winning case for hardship? It depends on the judge and adjudicator. You need to know that I-601A waiver is easier to receive than cancellation of removal. Plus, for cancellation of removal, if you win your case today, you have to wait minimum 3.5 years until the green card will be available. So I would go with the I-601A waiver, right? Rather than cancellation of removal, if I had a choice. Why would I risk receiving order of removal? Not every judge is going to think that depression may be mild or may be severe. So if it's a severe depression, then of course you have a strong case. But if it's a mild depression, the judge may say, no, not such a big deal, without more. So just keep that in mind, okay? Right. Yes, have another question about pending asylum case and NICE check-ins annually. Will I be safe? I cannot say to anyone these days that you guys are going to be absolutely safe. But generally speaking, if you are in regular 240 removal proceedings, you're entitled to your day in court. Okay? Only the judge can order you being removed. So while you do have an order of supervision and you have to come in and check in with ICE, ICE, generally speaking, not going to be grabbing you and deporting you because they don't have the document authorization to do so. That just keep that in mind. But there are other interesting situations where a person has reinstated order of removal against them, then different proceedings, where the person may have some other issues. Then, of course, you may not be safe. Just bring a lawyer with you, all right? When you go for those check-ins, hire an attorney and go with your lawyer. Is it safe with F1 visa but dropped out of college? Definitely not. The last time when Trump administration was in office, they went after students very, how to say, that they would, every student whose service record was terminated was receiving notices to appear. I think the same thing is going to happen this time. Hi, Bilal. Can I adjust my status if my LPR mom files adjustment of status I-45 for me? I'm 22 years old. All right. So if you're 22 years old and your mom just have a green card, she first has to file I-130 for you, and it has to become current. It's also possible only if you are not married, because green card holder parents cannot file I-130s for married sons and daughters. Now, once I-130 is current, you will be able to adjust status only if you've been maintaining lawful non-immigrant status in the United States through the entire time after you entry to the United States. Usually it's, unless you are in F1 status all this time, usually it's just not possible to accomplish. So I-45 is actually a form that is filed by you, not by your mom. Mom has to file I-130. I hope I answered your question. I'm not sure, what your status is, and if you're married or not. If you maintain your status, most likely, for most people, it's just not possible because they don't have that legal status that they need to adjust status based in a category of adult children. All right, sons or daughters. Right, let me see if we have more questions here on TikTok. Can I apply for asylum as a student and still study? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Yes, you can. That's possible. That's correct. Let me see some questions from YouTube and TikTok and Facebook. Hi, Sylvia. My brother came a long time ago without inspection. He's married Still not approved I-130. He will need later, I think, I-601 waiver. Is he safe now? Hi, Sylvia. All right, so he will need I-601A waiver, provided that the only ground of inadmissibility that he may face at the interview in the U.S. consulate overseas would be unlawful presence, right? That's number one. Number two, is he safe? No, he's not safe, because anybody in the United States anybody who doesn't have lawful non-immigrant status, green card or citizenship, potentially may be placed in removal proceedings. Okay, that's how it works. I do not know if he'll be able to file for cancellation of removal if that happens, but I cannot say that a person without status is safe in the United States, right? Hi, Trudy. A person with T status approved already through relationship abuse. Now the abuser is getting citizenship. Can the abuser be declined citizenship due to that was filed by the T status victim? I do not know. It goes to the good moral character situation. If USCIS is going to reconcile the record, maybe they will question that. But here is the interesting part. When a victim files in a certain categories, they file a case, the information that the victim shares with USCIS is confidential. So unless the same information is obtainable from public records, let's say arrest issue, then I don't think USCIS will be able to use it against the abuser or confront abuser with that information, not to disclose the fact that the victim filed for status. All right. Thank you, Carlos, for your gift on TikTok. Hi, David. Relief scheduling order. What does that mean? Okay, so a judge may issue a scheduling order directing your attorney to submit certain applications within certain time, applications for relief from deportation and removal proceedings, such as asylum, cancellation, removal, or maybe you'll be filing for something else. I think that's what it's all about. Okay. I'm an asylee. Is it safe to travel right now? If you already received asylum in the United States, you can travel as long as you receive refugee or asylee travel document. Hi, Ghost T. I'm asylum pending. Does that mean they deport me or process works same as before? If you're in asylum pending status before USCIS, the government may place you in removal proceedings. And in removal proceedings, you're going to renew your asylum claim with a judge. All right? That's how it works. All right. Let me see if we have more questions. What happens if your VAWA case hadn't been approved and you don't have a work permit yet? Then you don't have status or any defense from removal, right? You potentially may be placed in removal proceedings. But what happens in removal proceedings, because judge doesn't have control over I-360, the judge usually is going to give you time for the I-360 to be decided by USCIS. All right? I'm a US citizen. I applied for I-130 since November 6, 2003. Nothing. That's kind of long time. Who are you filing for? Your spouse? That should not wait. That should not take that long. Why don't you contact your senator and ask them for assistance to see why it is taking so long? All right. Yes, that's the question. I received a referee for medical only. How much longer to receive green card do you see normally? Guys, every case is different. In some situations, you receive requests for evidence for the medical exam, and then you don't hear from the government for a very long time because they are doing extra background checks. And in most cases, if you received requests for more evidence for medical, you're going to receive your green card within 30 to 60 days once you submit that medical in most cases, all right? That's how it usually works. Hi, Lorena. Can I travel outside the United States and re-enter safely with passport as single and advance parole under VAWA as married? Not sure what happened with your passport. I mean, why your passport is not updated? Is that the case? Then I don't think it's a problem. If there is no fraud involved and it's just a matter of you receiving passport prior to your marriage, I don't think there will be any issues there. Okay. But I do not know the situation. You may want to consult with a lawyer just to see that that's exactly what I said, or maybe there is something else going on, then it may be a problem, okay? All right. Hi, Nestle. Was the birthright citizenship stop for 14 days after 19 or 14 days from today? I will not be able to answer this question. The problem is this. The things that it was stopped temporarily under TRO doesn't resolve the issue, okay? So first of all, this birthright executive order was supposed to go into effect on February 19th. And there are no victims to the order yet. I'm telling you that this argument is going to be brought by the Trump administration, and they're probably going to win because that's how federal litigation works. All right? It has to work this way because it's always working this way. If you would like to sue somebody preemptively because you are afraid that unless you can show that the injury is imminent, maybe that's what the lawsuits are claiming. Without the actual injury, usually you cannot win the lawsuit. Okay? So, Nestle, I think you'll be fine and your kids will be fine anyway. I just do not see any judge in the United States saying that the law that's been settled for 100 years is all of a sudden going to be overturned somehow. I just don't see it happening. I mean, listen, sometimes surprises do happen, sometimes. But then such a court's decision is going to have unbelievable consequences. If a judge is going to say that the United States doesn't have jurisdiction over undocumented, then what's going to happen next? All orders of removal going to be null and void? All criminal convictions are going to be null and void? I just don't see that happening. I just cannot imagine that. All right? I just do not know how they're going to go around this issue. So I don't think you need to worry about how it stopped, when it stopped, because I just don't see it's happening at all. I might be wrong, but I doubt that. I actually been practicing federal litigation, and I am practicing federal litigation in connection with other side of my practice, employment discrimination. And here we see huge changes, by the way, guys, on the federal level. You may know that President Trump eliminated diversity departments in all federal agencies, also revoked non-discrimination federal executive order in federal places. So we're going to see what's going to happen. Not Title VII, but for federal employees, there was executive order about non-discrimination. So I'm very much familiar with the federal litigation. And knowing that, I think chances of Trump winning are very small. Will he try to win? Absolutely. He's going to fight for it. Why? Because that's what he promised when he was running for the presidency, that he's going to try to change this situation. But what may happen is if Congress amends the Constitution, then he will win. Then the birthright citizenship will be canceled, right? But I think Congress has to vote on that and amend the Constitution. And Even lots of Republicans are way not in favor of this kind of situation here. So that's something also you need to know, that not every Republican is in favor of such a drastic change to the Constitution. In the United States, generally speaking, nobody likes changing the Constitution. People really like it the way it is. Okay? Well, guys, thank you very much for joining today and watching. Thank you for your participation. I hope that you find this stream helpful. If so, like and share it, please. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that we can meet again next week, or maybe earlier if something interesting is going to be happening. And stay safe, be prepared rather than being scared. And I hope to see you soon.